Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 12 May 2013. Tonight we're going to have that comprehensive review that I promised you on the complicated and seductive Kershaw Knockout. Guys, have you ever had a woman in your life who really wasn't your type, who was frustrating, sometimes annoying, but when you looked at her, you thought, wow, that's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen? Well, I'm not sure this knife is that woman, but she's close. Let's sort of run down the high points of this knife before I get into why I made that rather odd analogy. Okay, we have a relatively new offering from the boys at Kershaw. American made, constructed of T6061 aluminum handles, a Sandvik 14C28N stainless steel blade, sort of a broad drop point with a interesting swedge. Do you believe that? Look at this, guys. During the knife review, she heard me say that she was annoying. We have blood. That's pretty cool. That's never happened before, not in one of my reviews, but it has tonight. Look, same finger too. We got to take a break. This cut, guys, courtesy of Spyderco Paramilitary 2, right here. I had been carrying this knockout for a couple weeks to do the review that I promised you. For one day I put the Para 2, my most frequently carried knife, back in my pocket. At the first opportunity, she bites me. Now we set up for the review on the knockout. She takes another piece of my hide. Hold on a minute. We shall soldier on. There are those of you who will appreciate that little timeout. Okay. Blade length, about 3 1/4 inches, 1/8 inch thick stock, very slim aluminum handle. Looks like a PVD coated pocket clip. I'm not sure that I've really been able to locate the information on the coating on this pocket clip. It is not paint. It's a little too smooth to be Parkerized. Pretty nice coating. Is wearing better than I thought it would. The knife does feature Kershaw's speed-safe assisted opening mechanism. Can be deployed, as you see, either by thumb stud or a flipper. The locking mechanism is Kershaw's subframe lock, which is a nice chunk of stainless steel, hardened, sort of Parkerized. Again, not painted, kind of one of those granular coatings, a little different than the one on the clip. It is affixed into the aluminum frame by 2 mini Torx screws that you can't see on this video. You could on my first impressions video. What do we have here? That's not factory, guys. That is a piece of 3M skateboard tape, custom cut by yours truly, and I'll get to why and how it works later in the video. It does hide some sort of unsightly screws. That's not why it's there, however. Let's see. Let's see if we can get a better shot of the lockup tonight than we got the first time around. Not sure. There. This knife locks up at about 60%, and it has not moved since day one. We've got a hardened stainless lock bar against a hardened steel blade tang, no issues. Lockup has no rock, no, meaning no vertical play, no horizontal, no side to side. It's really, really, really solid. I'm going to get into why that's a little surprising here in a bit. How about the aesthetics of the knife? We've got this beautifully milled aluminum. It is black hard anodized, and we talked in the first impressions video about how that's going to degrade in appearance over the years because, let's face it, it's going to chip, coatings are going to come off. This one still looks pretty good. It doesn't have any more marks on it than I had when I got it. I did get it used, if you'll remember. Now, let me talk about some negatives before I get into the many positives. We talked about this in the first video. Handle is slippery. It's pretty thin and it's pretty slick. It is definitely slippery. That's why the skateboard tape. Not only does it help extracting from a pocket, the clip doesn't really give you much traction. So when the hand goes down into the pocket, the thumb just with no effort at all. I mean, it really, really grabs hold. And when the knife is being used in a normal grip, I got 2 fingers lying right on that tape, which does give some security. And frankly, for a knife that is completely devoid of any kind of traction, the shape of the handle, where your hand falls, with the index finger deeply into the choil, the thumb on the mild ramp, and 2 fingers locked into this skateboard tape, and also the butt of the knife kind of buried into the fat of the hand, I'm pretty confident you could stab with this knife without having to worry about your hand slipping up the handle. It is, in my estimation, a medium to large size everyday carry folder, but will I carry it as an emergency tactical blade? You bet I will. It comes out super fast. If you use my alternate flipper method, which is, I don't know if I really showed you this so you could see it. I pluck the knife and put my hand in a pretty natural position, and look where my index finger, middle knuckle falls. I just sort of put some pressure on the flipper and out it comes. You can extract it from the pocket, grab it, bam, out it comes. Does it work in the reverse grip? In an awesome way. I mean, in an awesome way. It's not very long, but it'll do some slashing, and I'll guarantee it'll penetrate. Will it slash? I don't know. You think it will? Yeah, I think it will. Okay. So we got a handle that's too slick. Okay, we fixed that. We have a thumb stud that I think is too big for the knife. Not only does it possibly inhibit the slicing ability of the knife, it sticks up way too high. It's proud of the handle. It actually affects sharpening. I would prefer to either have no thumb stud, be a flipper knife only, or the thumb stud from the Kershaw Blur, which in my mind this knife almost replaces. It's better executed than the Blur. It's more ambidextrous than the Blur. All it needs is the Blur's thumb studs, or none at all. Another negative. Right at the base of the sharpened edge, we have, sort of what looks like a sharpening choil right in this area. you've got this nice big radius taken out of the base of the blade, leaving a big exposed corner here. But if you look closely, I think you can see that the radius of the plunge grind goes beyond this point, meaning it's not a true sharpening choil. If you can see this, guys, there was an unsharpened point right back at the base, and I couldn't stand it. I got rid of it. If you notice, my Edge Pro edge kind of flares at the back, and the reason it does that is because I got rid of that unsharpened point. Mine is sharp all the way to the point. The thumb stud did give me some trouble in doing that. I got a beautiful edge on it now, and it took me kind of 2 tries because I really wasn't sure what was up back there. Once I figured it out after I looked at my first sharpening job, I quickly made an adjustment. The blade is flat ground from about 3/4 spine. If you're using an Edge Pro, which probably is the best way to sharpen this knife, a Wicked Edge or a Lansky going to have a hard time finding something to clamp on. On the Wicked or on the Edge Pro, I use the flat grind and make some angle adjustments to get where I need to be. If you watch Jay Davis 882 videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. Now, here's another negative, and I didn't really notice this until I carried it for a couple weeks like I said I would. This stonewash finish on this knife, not your typical stonewash. When you look at it, it appears to be kind of a conventional, maybe fine-grained stonewash, but I think this blade was bead blasted and sort of tumbled it a little bit to make it look like a stonewash. I got a feeling it's still going to have some of those negative characteristics of a bead blasted blade. There's still a little texture there. I got a feeling it's going to be porous, it's going to trap moisture, and it's going to stain. I don't know that to be true, but I can tell you what didn't happen. They didn't take a ground blade straight to a tumbler, straight to a stone washer. This thing was definitely bead blasted. Don't know why they did that. Now I want to get to a negative I didn't really see when I did the first impressions video, but I'm going to explain. I'm not taking the knife apart to show you. Here's kind of how this pivot works. Pretty standard male-female pivot. On this side of the knife is where Speed Safe resides, and you can see the cover plate in there if you look close. On this side of the knife, of course, is where the lock bar presses. Most knives either have equally sized washers on either side, or because of lock bar pressure in that direction, you have a larger washer on the far side to support the blade as the detent, or as the detent ball presses on the knife. On the Knockout and other Kershaw Speed Safe knives, on the side opposite the lock bar, you actually have a smaller washer because of the channel for the torsion bar. The washer on the left side of this knife, almost twice the size of the one on the right. The diameter of the washer, smaller than the arc that the ball bearing on the lock bar rides in. So the forces are cantilevered over the side of the washer. Here's what you get because of that. See that? You see that sort of polished area at the base of the blade? Right here. That's because as the knife blade rotates, when it's being deployed, the lock bar presses this way, causing it to rub on the frame. Let's see if you can see that. Now, even with that being the case, I gotta tell you, full disclosure, centering on my knife is absolute perfection, and it really hasn't moved. I've got this pivot adjusted so the knife is almost drop free. I'll just have to shake it the tiniest bit with the lock bar tension removed and the blade drops. Let's see if we can do that again. See, just a tiny bit of resistance. So it's super smooth and super free. I don't know how that's going to affect the knife in the long term with a rather stout lock bar pressing against an unsupported blade. I don't know if that washer is going to start to round over and it's going to develop side to side play that can't be adjusted out. All I know is that after a couple weeks of daily use and not being babied, other than that little rub, that little sort of polished spot, the knife is no worse for wear. Now let's talk about how I've used it. My EDC tasks for a knife can vary. From opening letters to cutting nylon strapping to nylon zip ties to rope to cardboard to opening boxes with packing tape. And as some of you saw, for making small kindling and fire sticks. And this knife has spent the last 2 weeks of its life doing all that. After applying an Edge Pro edge, the knife has been nothing but stropped after all that use. Okay, so that's a couple weeks of what I would term pretty rough EDC use. Not rough, but heavy duty EDC use. About 5 strokes on each side on the fine side of my strop, and let's see what we got after all that. Let's see. I'd say that's smoking, boys. I don't think it gets much better than that. I'm not sure my S30V blades would hold up that well. So edge retention and the keenness of edge this knife will take, it gets great marks. Now, I've beat this thing up pretty bad here for about 15 or 16 minutes. Now I got to tell you why I really bought it, what drew me to it in the first place. I think it's just aesthetically gorgeous. I think the shape of the handle is really beautiful. I think the milling in the aluminum is really beautiful. I think the clip really fits the knife. I think the blade shape is absolutely gorgeous and super functional. You know, it gives the illusion of having a pretty reinforced tip. I wouldn't say that it really does have a reinforced tip. Let me kind of focus here. Okay. It's still pretty thin out at the edge, but that swedge does make it awfully attractive. It's a great slicer. Super strong lock for what it is. You know, you guys say what you want, but and aluminum's not my preferred handle material. I'd much rather see this in G10. But you're not going to fault the lock strength, and you're going to have a hard time convincing me that a titanium integral lock, frame lock, is stronger than this, because it's just not. Hardened steel on hardened steel makes a better lock than titanium on hardened steel. Oops, excuse me, guys. Even carbidized titanium. As I said in my initial impressions video, I'm not particularly a speed assist knife guy. That's how this young lady really isn't my type. Not really a flipper guy. I love spider holes, I must say. But having said that, I told you guys I was going to make myself carry this for a few weeks. I've carried it for 2, and no spider hole, awkward assist mechanism that you have to re-grip it to close with one hand. Yeah, those things are still true. Overly large thumb stud, still true. However, great cutter. And once my hand and my muscle memory got used to it, great fondling knife. Fun knife to play with. And I did not think I would say that, but it is. And super fast into action. You know, you really don't have to. Once your hand gets used to this knife, once you draw it out of a pocket, man, it's like wherever your hand is, what do you want to do? Bang, thumb stud? Okay. Grab it. Flipper? Okay. Absolutely. It's truly one of those knives where it's better than the sum of its parts. You know, if you added all my pluses and minuses up about this knife, I'm sure I've spent more time talking about what's wrong with it than I have what's right with it. However, it's not going to be for sale, and I will carry it. It is a great carry, size, and weight for me. You know, it's a little over 4 inches long closed, 3.8 ounces by my scale, 3.4 advertised. Super thin carry, and it gets into action quick, and it cuts. And it's kind of impressive, you know, your friends and coworkers who aren't knife guys see that thing come out, and it's one that makes them go, wow, what is that? That's never a bad thing, is it? So, I'll take some chips and some black anodizing. I'll take some slippery handles, especially if I can fix them. I'll take some poorly designed thumb studs, although they're not that bad. I'll take an edge grind that's kind of messed up at the back. Let's face it, guys, most knives have edge grinds that are messed up at the back. There aren't too many that get that part of the knife right. I'll take an odd washer setup and kind of a weak suspension system. I'll take it if it all works, and it works. So I told you maybe, you know, I wouldn't recommend this knife to you when I gave you my initial impressions of it a couple weeks ago. I would today, especially if you like stormy relationships that have some frustration in them, and if you like a little tension. And I'm not talking about the torsion bar. Yes, I am. So, guys, Kershaw Knockout. Hate to love it, love to hate it. Yeah, one of those. Mostly just love it, though. Would I buy it again? Absolutely. Can you have this one? No. Get your own. And send it to me for sharpening. And you too can have this edge. Once again, guys, getting a little too late in the evening for me to be making videos. I'm getting a little silly. So having said that, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Have a good night, guys.